It is my privilege as past president of TJA. The board members are out taking pictures and things, but it's my privilege to introduce my boss. Brandon Wood began working with the Texas Commission on Jail Standards in 1999 as a planner, assisting counties in identifying jail population trends, preparing needs analysis, and developing and reviewing construction plans. Mr. Wood served as the agency's assistant director from August of 2007 to October of 2012, at which time he became the executive director of the Texas Commission on Jail Standards. Through his tenure with the agency, he's assisted with administrative oversight, operational facilities, communications with local officials to find solutions for minimum jail standards, interacting with the governor's office, legislative budget board, and numerous state officials regarding the functioning aspects, goals, and responsibilities of the commission and the impact on counties. Mr. Wood is a Texas A&M University graduate, class of 1995. Where he was selected as the Outstanding Company Commander for the Navy Marine ROTC unit, awarded an LBJ congressional internship, and worked for Representative Bill Sarpoulos in 1993. Please join me in welcoming Brandon Wood.
All right, everybody can hear me, right? Everybody good? Okay. First off, we appreciate the opportunity to participate in this conference. It's always been one of the things that I value, and that is making sure that we are available at these events to not only assist you in understanding minimum jail standards, how we go about conducting our business, but also make staff available to you outside of the course of an inspection. Because I guarantee that during an inspection, you're probably on pins and needles, okay? And we want you to be able to interact, feel comfortable talking with these inspectors, talking with staff, asking them questions. That is why I have them down here. So please take advantage of them while they are here. If you need their cell phone numbers, don't already have them, be more than happy to provide that to you, okay? So again, make sure that you're talking to these guys while they're here. They want to be here to help you because we understand the environment that you have to operate in. It's extremely challenging. Marshall Parmelo talked about it previously. And most people simply do not understand what you do day in and day out. Some of you that have been doing this for quite some time, you've gone through multiple sheriffs, and you have a new one come in and they had no experience with the sheriff's office. They never worked in a jail. And all of a sudden you have to embark upon a crash course in introducing them to their biggest challenge. And they have to rely upon you. And they're going to rely upon your expertise. You are subject matter experts. And one of the things that I'm going to talk about this morning, give you some insight and hit upon a topic that I think all of us deal with on a regular basis. And I'm going to keep my remarks somewhat short because Ricky Armstrong, the Assistant Director for the agency, retired McLennan County Jail Administrator, past President of the Association, is also going to be doing a presentation. And to be honest with you, I think his presentation is a lot more interesting than mine. So I'm going to speed mine up as much as possible and then put most of the pressure on him because that is what we do, right? We rely upon our workhorses, the individuals that we rely upon day in and day out. We have to be careful, though, because what do? We keep going back to the well with those individuals, right? Because we find those people that are high performers and we know that we can count on them. And if we're not careful, we burn them out. So, but we also want to make sure that they receive the recognition that they deserve because, again, we rely upon our staffs. And you have to have good people. You have to take care of your people. But we want to make sure that they have opportunities. So with that, let's go ahead and start talking about some of the things that we deal with on a pretty regular basis, okay? And if at any point in time I say something that you disagree with or have a question about, raise your hand, throw something at me, whatever, okay? We have plenty of time to go over this. I think we're going to try to take this to at least 11 o'clock. My section of it will probably be about 15, 20 minutes, give or take. Probably a little bit longer because I have a tendency to talk too much, okay? So, implementing real change, okay? So one of the things, when we were asked to talk, I did take a quick glance at the agenda. And for this conference, I noticed that there were no less than 5 classes on leadership that were being presented, okay? I've had an opportunity to listen to a few of them, and this is one of the things that everybody hammers upon: leadership, leadership, leadership. Okay, and I think everybody realizes that there's a difference between leadership, leaders, and simply being a manager. Okay, now all of you in this room, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, or if you want to think so or not, each of you are leaders. Okay, you're already either leading an organization, responsible for a division within an organization, or somebody has sent you to this conference because they see the potential that you have to become a leader. So they are sending you to these conferences and these events to expose you to the different philosophies, the different concepts, and for you to be able to network and talk to your peers, because you're probably going to encounter situations that I guarantee somebody else in this room has already had to encounter, and you can either learn from the mistakes that they made as they overcame that challenge, or you can repeat them on your own and then wish that you hadn't. But again, it's extremely important that you network with these individuals that are here. Talk to your inspectors. Make sure that you're talking to folks throughout this conference. Ask them questions, especially if you're new to the position that you're in. Okay? Now, there was also one class on management and thriving on chaos. Okay? Now, that's a pretty ominous title. Okay? Because anytime that you have the word chaos in there, then it makes people uncomfortable. I was hoping to attend that. I wasn't able to, but I do plan on getting the presentation materials and looking over that, because if there is one thing that probably describes the environment in which y'all operate on a daily basis, would chaos be somewhat accurate? Anybody disagree? But is it managed chaos? That's the challenge that y'all have. Y'all have to manage that chaos on a daily basis. What's a bigger challenge that you manage? Is it your staff or is it your inmates? Huh? Sometimes I hear that it's a combination of both, but you have to understand what those motivating factors are for both your inmates and the staff that you're responsible for leading on a daily basis. Now, implementing real change. Everybody loves change, right? Everybody loves change, okay? That's what everybody wakes up every morning hoping that they have something changed that they then have to react to. I know all of y'all enjoy it every time that we announce a change to minimum standards, right? It simply is not something that most people enjoy, look forward to, because we are creatures of habit. We like everything to stay as it is because we are comfortable with that. We are in a comfort zone. We know what to expect. We know how to react when something does occur, okay? Now, as a manager, as a leader, at some point in time, I guarantee you, if you don't do it on a very regular basis, you will be required to implement change, whether it's because you have a new sheriff that comes into office, whether it's because the legislature passes a new law that then requires us to change minimum standards, or we see a change that is needed based upon the operational realities that you deal with on a daily basis. At that point in time, you're going to be tasked with carrying out that change and making sure that it's implemented correctly, making sure that it's implemented safely for your staff and the inmates that you're responsible for. So, as a leader, all of you are going to be expected to implement change, and you need to make sure that you approach it in a manner in which you can be successful. Now, what is it about change? Everybody's heard this right here. Change is the only constant, correct? So each and every day as we're striving for everything to remain the same, keep the status quo, change is the only constant. Now, people are familiar with this phrase. Have you heard it before, or a version of it? Yes? No? Okay. Now, it's basically based upon the teachings of a Greek philosopher, okay? Heraclitus. Anybody here a philosophy major in college, university? Anybody take any philosophy classes? Anyone? Okay, I see some heads shaking up and down. Philosophy is just one of those subject areas in which as you delve off into it, you realize that you may not completely understand what it is that they're trying to convey, because it's a very deep subject matter, and at times I have to go back and try to figure out exactly what they're trying to get across. And basically, the saying that change is the only constant was based upon the fact of observations of what is occurring around him. And basically, he was trying to say that everything flows, nothing stays static, ever. Everything is always moving, everything is always changing. Therefore, the only constant is, in fact, change. One of the other statements that he made that it took me a while to try to figure out was basically, you cannot step into the same river twice. Okay? Does anybody want to take a stab at what that means? Anyone? Basically, whenever you first read that, you can step in that same river twice, can you not? How many of y'all have gone down to the Frio? Okay? You go down to the Frio every year. Okay? You get into the river. You're stepping in that river, but that water that you stepped into last time, the first time that you ever stepped into it, has long passed you by. That is new water. Okay? So, philosophy has a lot of statements like that. It makes you think, because you step into your jail every day, but today is different than yesterday. You have different inmates, you have different staff, you have different challenges, okay? So try to take some of that. Try to understand that change is going to be a constant. Do not be afraid of it, but you have to prepare and you have to plan accordingly. Some of the other concepts, constant flux. Basically, they're talking about the fact that reality is in a constant state of motion and transformation. Just like we were talking about that river, it's moving at all times. Rivers change their banks. You get more water in them after major rain events, okay? Sometimes we have droughts, but they are always changing. Change is inevitable. It is going to happen, whether you want it to or not, whether you are ready for it to change or not. It is going to happen. It is inevitable. Adaptability. You are going to have to be adaptable to these changing situations. If you recognize this, if you understand this, it will encourage you to be resilient during these transformations that will occur. You can attempt to hold back and keep the status quo, and just like if you have that water running down a river, it will overcome you, will it not? So you have to be prepared for it. You have to be able to make changes. Now, as we talk about change, one of the environments in which a lot of us operate in is an area in which, somewhat distasteful, because we deal with politicians, elected officials, okay? That's just the reality of the situation that we are in. We are in public safety, and public safety is driven by policy, and policy is driven by politicians, okay? We have to be ready to change, because while the essence of bureaucracy, and this is a statement from a work that I hope that none of y'all have ever had to read, because it is absolutely a boring read. It's about 800 pages dealing with the time frame 1822 to 1850, okay? And it was following the Napoleonic Wars. And it was basically talking about how Europe was being transformed after all those events that had taken place. And the essence of bureaucracy is a statement from that book. Anybody familiar with Henry Kissinger? Anybody know who Henry Kissinger is? Give me somebody a hand, okay. All right, you raised your hand, so you know that he was basically a national security advisor and secretary of state in the early 70s, politician, right? People have different views on the man, okay? Some people want to label him a war criminal. Other people believe that he should have received Nobel Peace Prizes, okay? All that is perception. But whenever he was talking about the essence of bureaucracy, he was talking about the fact that this is a world in which we actually have to operate on a regular basis. And he's talking about the fact that policy and bureaucracy are diametrically opposed. Okay? Policy is contingency. Politicians are always wanting change. How many people have you seen run for office that says, I'm not changing anything? They're always wanting to change something. They have to have something new, correct? They have to have something that you want to buy off and be a part of, because everybody's tired of the status quo, so they're always wanting to change. They're wanting to transform something. They're running for office because they think something's broken, they're going to change it, right? So they are always wanting to basically change something. And that success depends upon the correctness of an estimate. They're saying, I believe that people are wanting to bite off on this, okay? So they're guessing as to what the outcomes will be. Now, work for state government. I am a bureaucrat, first and foremost, okay? I have to be. And bureaucracy is driven by safety. We want predictability, okay? And that is a calculable outcome. We want things to turn out the way that we expect them to. I want your inspections to turn out well. I want to know how many inspections I'm going to have to conduct. I want to know how many plan reviews will have to be done. That is in direct conflict with policy, because policy is always wanting to drive change, okay? Policy, it thrives on perpetual creation, creating something new, changing something, constantly redefining these goals. Good administration, though, thrives on routine. Each morning whenever you show up for work, you're looking at a staffing roster. You want to make sure everybody that's supposed to be showing up is showing up. You're counting on those people showing up, right? You need those people there. Policy, they're trying to adjust the amount of risk that they're willing to take. As administrators, we are trying to limit the amount of risk each and every day with each and every action, right? This is the challenge that we have, because we all work for politicians, right? They're expecting, they want something new, they want something better. And we're trying to manage this chaos. We're trying to manage this risk. We are opposed diametrically to basically what they are trying to accomplish. We're trying to make sure that we provide a safe and secure environment with the least amount of risk possible. And they're wanting to change everything. They like to turn the world upside down for us. That's where that conflict is going to come in on a daily basis. And you have to be willing and understand how to manage that chaos and that conflict. As a politician, they're trying to figure out new ways to do these things. As bureaucrats, as administrators, we're just trying to figure out how to execute. We don't create policy. We're just carrying out what it is that they have now decided is the next best thing, okay? The better mousetrap that they have developed. So let's talk about leaders and leadership, okay? As I mentioned earlier, all of you in here are leaders. You've taken the opportunity to come to these events, receive the training that will help you become a better leader, help you become a better manager, okay? You understand the administrative functions of your agencies. People rely upon you each and every day. Your sheriff relies upon you. People above you rely upon you, and people below you rely upon you. And it's important that you're equipped to be successful. So what kind of leaders are there? Everybody is understanding that there are different types of leaders, okay? Now, two of the biggest difference that you can identify are your formal leaders, okay? These individuals, they have the title. They've been empowered by somebody in a position of power, whether it's voters, your sheriff, a board that appoints you. Somebody has appointed you and placed you in a position of power. You are a formal leader. You have that title. You have the power to carry out, make decisions, and then follow through on them, okay? Those individuals are easy to identify. People gravitate towards them most of the time. Most of the time they have a level of respect. They're often considered subject matter experts. But what other types of leaders do you have in your organization? If we have formal leaders, what's the other type of leader that you would have? Informal, that's correct, okay? What kind of traits do these people possess? Anybody want to take a stab at it? Do they have rank? No, don't have rank. Sometimes they might have a little bit of rank, right? Have they been there a while? Oftentimes they're long tenured, right? They've been there, but they've never promoted, but they do what they need to do, right? Most of the time. but they're leaders nonetheless because they've been there a while. People will gravitate to those individuals as well. You probably remember in high school, you had your class presidents, you had leaders within your classrooms, right? But you also had the guy in the back with the quick wit. Didn't want any responsibility, right? But everybody liked him. Everybody listened to him. A lot of times people followed him whether he wanted them to or not. He may have, okay? That's an informal leader. A lot of times these individuals are also viewed as somewhat being a rebel, okay? I'm not going to do that, or that's stupid, or why are we doing that? They want to question everything. Well, I'm not part of that. How many of you people have experienced that? How many people have seen that within your organization? Most of you, right? Okay. Oftentimes they complain a lot, do they not? Why are we doing this? Or this is stupid. Common traits, okay? A lot of times they'll tell you just how jacked up our organization is, right? And if they were in charge, it would be run different, okay? You've probably heard that on more than one occasion. But they also don't like change. The moment that you walk in there and you want to change a policy or the way that you're doing something, are they the first ones to step up and say, yeah, we need to do that? No, they're complaining about it. But the moment that you want to change something, they're like, oh my God, again, okay? But you have to understand that these people are leaders within the organization, informal leaders, and your other employees will follow them. They will take cues off of them. Identify these individuals. Try to bring them into your fold. Win them over. They may never want any sort of leadership type position, official leadership type position. But if you can get these types of individuals to have buy-in on some of the things that you're trying to do, these changes that you're going to be required to implement, you're going to be a lot more successful. And a lot of that is going to be based upon communication and your ability to convey your plan to these individuals. Whenever we talk about change, whenever we are trying to change something, what's the biggest thing that people complain about? Why? Why are we changing it? We don't do very good prep work. We don't do a good job of telling people why we're changing things. How many of you have asked a question about why you're doing something and you've been told, because I told you so? Whether it was your parents growing up, instructors in school, or even a supervisor nowadays. Has anybody ever experienced that response? Okay? What was your response to that? Were you fired up to go ahead and just do it because they told you? Did you carry it out because it was your responsibility? You probably did, because you're consummate professionals, okay? After you realize that it was not illegal or immoral, okay? Yes, okay, we're gonna carry this out. I don't agree with it. I don't even know why I'm doing it, to be honest with you. But they told me to go down there and move all these inmates from this pod to that pod. Didn't tell you why. They just told you move them, okay? You will run across some managers that will do that just because they can tell you to do that. If you've experienced that, hopefully you took notes and you told yourself at that moment in time, if I become a leader, I'm not going to act that way. Those arbitrary type decisions. Keep your people informed. Have them buy into the vision, because you're going to need them to implement change and implement change successfully. Because again and again, you've heard through these classes, this leadership, can you be a leader without anybody following you? It's kind of hard. And if you are placed in a position of leadership, make sure you turn around on a regular basis and make sure they're still following you, okay? You can forge ahead and find yourself alone very, very quickly. But if you keep them informed and tell them why they have buy-in, you can be successful in this environment. Okay, we're going to do something a little bit different, okay? And we're going to do a little bit of an exercise. Over the years, I've asked people, what makes a good presentation? And time again, I've been told that it has to be engaging, okay, and entertaining. I am far from entertaining. I can engage you to a certain degree, okay? But over the years, I've picked up on some things. I don't talk about myself, but some of the things that I've picked up on, I think can be useful. And a lot of times whenever we are in these environments, you're sitting here looking at a screen. A lot of times there's a wall of text up there. It's in a 12-point font, and you can't even read it, right? That drives me insane. But if you can get people engaged, if you can have some sort of a gimmick or whatever the case may be, you can keep the people that are there having to suffer through your presentation a little bit more engaged, okay? So we're going to do a little bit of an exercise, and there's going to be quite a few things that you can take from it. And that includes, you know, what I did wrong as I do this little exercise, okay? So nobody knows what's... Some of you may have seen a little bit of a test case of this a little while back. If you did, please don't ruin it for anybody else, okay? So, Ricky, give me some volunteers. Everybody been enjoying the weather? Absolutely beautiful weather down here, correct? Yes, sir. Absolutely. Come on up. If he tagged you, if he went by and touched your shoulder, come on up. All right, so we'll go ahead and get moving here. All right, so. Joe? You like burnt orange or whatever that is, right? All right. All right. I'm sorry, I don't have any more balloons. No, you don't get to sit down. Nope. All right. First problem, okay? I have 5 people up here, only brought 4 balloons, okay? Somebody didn't prepare properly. That was me, okay? Second thing, I didn't relay enough information to Ricky as to the number of people I needed for this. I just told him, go get me some volunteers, right? So now I have a wasted resource, okay? I'm wasting her time. Not really, but you get the gist, okay? You have to be clear. You have to convey what it is that you need to your staff so that they know how to help you be successful, okay? Now, Ricky hopped up and he started grabbing people, okay? But he didn't know how many. See, that if anybody knows Jason, that is his nature right there. He will give you the shirt off of his back. He's not trying to get out of this. That's just how he is, okay? So, all right, go ahead and blow up your balloons. You don't have one, so sorry. All right. So, what does this balloon represent? I'm sorry, what were you saying? Okay, so what does this represent? A lot of hot air. That's a good one right there, okay? Let's see. Yeah. This balloon is your organization. It represents your organization, does it not? You don't know that. I'm just telling you this for now, okay? But it also represents how your staff, members of your organization, are going to act. So this is kind of a double-sided presentation. Has a couple of different meanings. So let's start with the actions of your employees, right? So it represents your employees and your organization. All right, so do we have any balloons that were uninflated or underinflated? Nope, everybody blew the balloon up, right? just deflating. That's a shame. That is a shame. Okay? So, we have an overachiever here, right? Typical in any organization. He's going to do it better than anybody else, okay? So, anytime that you have an underinflated or uninflated balloon, these are people that haven't bought into it. They're just like, this is stupid, right? You're sitting there going, why am I even up here? I haven't told them why they're up here. Again, that's on me. They're just up here being guinea pigs, all right? They're good guinea pigs, but they're still being guinea pigs because I haven't told them anything about this. You have to communicate. You have to communicate effectively at all times, okay? Anytime one of your staff members asks you a question, get them an answer. Hopefully you already have that answer because you've prepared, okay? Different size balloons. So, we have different sizes, all right? Because again, I didn't tell them how much air to put in there. I didn't tell them how big I wanted those balloons or how small I wanted those balloons. I just told them blow them up, okay? So if I was expecting these balloons to contain a certain volume of air, I failed them once again. I didn't tell them what I needed. I just told them blow them up. We do this as managers on a regular basis. We just tell them, hey, I just need you to just go do that right quick, okay? Don't tell them why. Don't tell them how much. Don't tell them how quickly. Sometimes you do. I need it done right now. In our world, it's always, I have to have it done right now, okay? And you hope that they understand that. You go down to their office and they're sitting there and they're doing something else. You're like, why didn't you do that? Well, I didn't know I needed to do it right now, okay? You have to communicate. You have to provide them information. Information is key at all points and times, okay? Now, again, let's see. Anybody tie their balloon? Tie it off? No? Nobody tied off their balloon, okay? A lot of times that represents somebody that wants to make sure, okay, I did what I was supposed to, and I'm going to capture it because I want to be able to show it off, right? Do we have one? Your balloon, that is a sad balloon, okay? Man. Now, your over-enthusiastic employees, can they be a challenge to manage as well? Absolutely. They're going to jump out there and they're just going to go head first into whatever you give them. Sometimes they get ahead of you, okay? And you have to draw them back. You have to be careful on that because they're wanting to do what you need done. They want to make sure that it's successful, okay? But if they keep doing that and you keep drawing them back, what lesson are they going to take from that? They're going to stop at some point in time. They're not going to be nearly as enthusiastic, okay? You don't want to break those employees. You want to make sure that you're providing them the guidance and leadership that they need to be successful as well because they want you to be successful, okay? All right. Nobody released them. We do have one. It looks like it's deflating. Is it dead yet? No. It's getting there, okay? A lot of times, we told them blow up these balloons, okay? They blow them up and then they just let it go after, you know, we're getting pretty close to the end of this, right? So, you know, whatever, okay? They let that air out of that balloon, okay? You know what that represents? What happens whenever you're trying to implement change and then all of a sudden that happens? People fall back into old habits all the time. We walk through. You have auditors come in, not just us, county auditor. Some of you house federal inmates. You have feds coming in, auditing your facility, okay? And as soon as they leave, you know, you busted your hump, made sure everything was clean, good to go, paperwork's spot on, so forth and so on. Then you take a breath, and you have some employees that will fall back into those old habits, okay? You're trying to implement change that will be lasting, that will have a long-term impact. And you have to manage that at all points and times. So that balloon is your organization. You're responsible for the success of your organization at all points in time. Change is constant and inevitable. You have to learn how to manage it. Real change, lasting change, we're going to talk about how that can be best achieved. But all of us, we're subject to those outside forces at all points in times, whether it's advocates that are picketing outside your facility, whether it's commissioners' courts that are telling you you've got to do this cheaper with less people. And by the way, can you generate me some revenue while you're at it? Okay? You always have outside forces. It may be a sheriff that comes in and they want to change everything. Maybe it's minor. Okay? We're going to change the vendor we use for cleaning supplies. Well, we've relied upon them for years. Okay, you're comfortable with them. Their delivery is on time each and every time. But maybe somebody can do it a little bit better. But you want to stick with them because you're comfortable with them. Okay? Sometimes your commissioner's court, they're convinced that you're just jacked up 9 ways from Sunday, and they bring an outside consultant in to tell you how you should be doing your job. Everybody loves those people, right? Because you've been sitting there telling them all along what needs to change and how it can be done. They've ignored you, and then they bring somebody in, pay them 4 times what you're making, and then they want you to implement everything that they said next week, right? Has anybody experienced that? It happens, okay? So those outside forces. So do we have any balloons left? No, oh my God. Pink, all right, so we got these 2 right here. So these outside forces, if I come over there, see if I can. If I come over here as inspector, jail commission, I come over here, come along, I want you to change. I want you to make sure that you're complying with minimum standards. I come through, I changed the shape of that balloon, didn't I? Right? It's not the same as whenever I walked up to it. Whenever I walk away, I'm no longer here. It goes right back to how it was. Okay? That is an outside force trying to change that balloon, trying to change your organization, okay? I apologize. I didn't realize that you wouldn't be able to hear me. Did everybody hear me in the back? Okay? So basically, that balloon, I walked up to it, I changed the shape of it. Whenever I let go and walked away, it went right back to how it was, okay? If you want to make real, lasting change on your organization, this is my opinion, has to be done from the inside. It has to be internal. So if I ask Choate, I want you to change the size of that balloon, how are you going to do it? No, I want you to do it. Okay, now let go of it. You retired. That organization went right back to how it was. Okay? Blow that balloon up. Now he changed the shape of that balloon from the inside. Okay? Y'all are the key to your organization's success. That change, if you want to make positive impacts, if you want to change that organization, you as the leader are going to be the ones that can do it. And you have to have the buy-in from your staff. You have to communicate effectively. Okay? Because in reality, there's only one other way that you can possibly have lasting change. I go over there and I could pop that balloon and it goes away. I'm an outside force destroying that organization, right? But we're not going to be destroying jails because we have to have them, okay? And we want to make sure that that change that we implement, when it's positive change for the better, is still there after we leave, after your inspector walks out, after those auditors come through. If it's good change, if it's needed change, and you put into place a program to implement it, make sure that it's carried out and it's successful, why would you want it to go away? Why would you want to fall back into old bad habits? You don't. So as leaders, you need to be preparing this next generation of leaders as well at all times. We have to bring our people up. We have to make sure they're prepared. To do that, we have to communicate at all times effectively. I needed to tell Ricky, I need 4 volunteers that you bring up here. As soon as I got up here, I needed to tell them, I need you to blow up your balloon for 5 seconds, and I want them this size, okay? Also needed to tell them what it was that we were even doing up here, okay? How many people like to be surprised? Very, very few, right? So you have to provide this information. And then you also have to have information coming back up to you at all points in time. That way you can adjust accordingly. You react and respond. You provide your staff the information that they need to be successful so they can make you successful. That clear communication, you got to tell them why we're doing this. You got to tell them when we're doing it. And whenever I say where, I mean where are we going to wind up when we're done with this change? Now, this agency has gone through changes, the commission itself. Whenever we went through sunset, we were required to move away from an annual inspection process, okay? Now, as a bureaucrat, I had comfort knowing that each and every year I would have somebody on site looking at these jails, okay? Because I'm sitting here going, oh my God, you know how much can change in just 1 year? And then I'm being told, well, you don't need to look at them every year, maybe every 2 years, maybe every 4 years. And, you know, that will cause a panic attack for someone like me, okay? So we had to develop a new system. And the moment that we made that switch, the moment that the decision was made, I had to be the biggest cheerleader in regards to making that change. And I needed to be able to tell staff what it is that we're doing, why we're doing it, and what it will look like in the end. Now, we adjusted, we continue to adjust because of feedback that we receive. But I continuously try to make sure that they understand, okay, this is why we've changed over to this. This is how we're going to make it work. And this is why I need y'all's help to make it work. I need your feedback. And you have to believe in it. As a leader, if change is being required, being forced by some outside entity, okay, and now you are tasked with that change because your sheriff tells you, we're going to change. As a leader, you have to believe in that change. You have to be the biggest cheerleader at that point in time. Because the moment that you say, I can't believe we're doing this, we're just going to do it, what does that do to the morale of your staff at that point in time? How eager are they going to be to carry out that change that's needed? Not very, right? Because they're taking their cues off of you. You also have to make sure that those informal leaders that we talked about previously, you kind of drag them into it, get them to buy off on it as well. Hey, you know what? You've complained for years about the need for change. Time is here. What do you think? What's the downfalls? They may not have any right. If you go down there and talk to them, you may get some very good insight that you didn't even think about, because a lot of it is perspective. And at different levels, you have different perspectives, okay? So, again, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with y'all this morning. I appreciate my volunteers, even the one with the very, very sad balloon, okay? All right, so now I get to introduce Ricky Armstrong, or is he wanting to take a break before he has to come up here? You good? All right, so Ricky is going to give y'all a very good presentation, and like I said, I find it more interesting than mine. He's a very good speaker. He's got years of experience, and I think you're going to enjoy the topic quite a bit.
Okay, can you hear me? Yes, can you hear me? Good, volume's good in the back. Let me find the clicker and we'll get started. Most everybody knows me. My name is Ricky Armstrong. Like you said, I'm the Assistant Director for the Commission. My career started in Big Lake, Texas. Well, my life started in Big Lake, Texas, where I went to high school, graduated, left there, went to college at San Marcos for 1 year, came back home and started working for a county road department and a volunteer fire department as well. And I thought that I wanted to be a firefighter. So that's what my goals were and my career was. So we're talking about making a difference and what is your voice. So what are you going to do in your community to make a difference? And in your job, in your home, in your community, everywhere. What can you do to make a difference in our world? It's up to you. It's up to you as to what you do to make that difference. It's all in your hands. Life's about choices that we make, what kind of choices we are making, who's helping us make those choices. Like I said, I wanted to be a volunteer firefighter. So that first picture there is back in February of 1991. That's when I started my career with the sheriff's office, a long time ago. I told you I wanted to be a volunteer firefighter. I wanted to be a full-time firefighter was my goal. And I went to EMT school as a volunteer in Big Lake, Texas. I fought fires. I rose to the rank of lieutenant in the volunteer fire department at a very, very, very young age. And we had some friends that moved to Waco, Texas. We came down and visited, and I thought I would go to Waco, Texas and be a firefighter. So I picked up my family. Parents were really mad because I took their only grandchild at the time away from them to Big Lake, Texas. And I applied for the fire department in Waco. At the time, they had about 400 applicants. I applied at the sheriff's office in the same month. I was a paramedic. Before that, I went to paramedic school at MCC, took a year. I got my paramedic license and was working on the ambulance part-time, starving to death because they paid minimum wage as a private ambulance service. Like I said, I applied for the sheriff's office and the fire department at the same month, basically. And about 3 months, I hadn't heard anything. I was like, man, this is bad. We were starving to death. I was going to have to find a job. But I had one phone call that changed my life. It's from a man named Coy Jones. He was actually the jail administrator of McLennan County Sheriff's Office. He said, hey, I want you to come in and talk to us. We're going to offer you a job. I had no idea what a jailer was at all. Never thought about being in law enforcement. I got hired, went on the night shift, and a gentleman by the name of Clarence Hubby was a sergeant there, and he trained me. 6 months later, I made assistant supervisor at the sheriff's office. We were about a 400-bed facility, I think, back then. And I was told by staff that I shouldn't have put in for that position. I was too young, hadn't been there long enough, and I should let somebody else have that deserved it. But I was made assistant supervisor. I did my time. I worked. I got to go to peace officer school during that time. In 1993, my sergeant decided to go work at a federal prison. And so we had a sergeant's opening. I put in for it. Been there 2 years. Again, I was told by other staff that I shouldn't put in for it. I'm not going to get it. You're too young. You don't deserve it. I interviewed, and I got the position. I was made sergeant in 1993, October of 93, same year my daughter was born. So moving forward, I was sergeant for a while, aspired to move on. I read minimum jail standards as a sergeant. I read books. I went to training. And I was brought to a conference right here. Well, it was actually in Austin. Texas Jail Association conference in 1993. Coy Jones nominated me for an award, and I won that award. It was the first ever Correctional Officer of the Year Texas Jail Association awarded. I was honored to receive that, and started my lifestyle with the Texas Jail Association. I think I've probably missed 5 conferences maybe since then. That's just because they wouldn't let me go. They wanted somebody else to go. I wanted to go to every one of them. I enjoy the conferences. I enjoy getting to meet people. I enjoy the education, the learning, the sharing of ideas. That's what this is about, networking and meeting people and helping each other out, giving back to our community. So throughout the years, I was a sergeant for a long time, went through a couple of different jail administrators, and I made lieutenant in 2013, I believe. And then in 2015, I made captain, jail administrator. And then we moved on and we took over our private jail. And at that time, they promoted me to major. I was still the jail administrator, but I had 2 jails and captains under me. That's kind of my career step. And then in 2022, I retired. And a couple days after I retired, I got a phone call from some guys I knew I was going to do something after retirement. I just didn't know what. I'm too young not to work. I kind of thought I might go to work as a vendor, still supporting corrections, right? I talked to a few vendors, had some phone calls, but a good friend of mine that had already retired from an agency told me that don't take that first job that's offered to you. Wait. So I waited. And I got a phone call from some guys. They were driving down the road. I think there might have been 3 in the car. And they said, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "Nothing. I'm retired," right? So they said, "Hey, we want you to come be our boss." I said, "What are you talking about?" And it was the inspectors. I said, "Why don't one of y'all want to be the boss? Move up, promote, do what you do." I'd never thought about being an inspector, working for the Texas Commission on Jail Standards. Never crossed my mind. It intrigued me, and their answer to that was, "We all live too far away. We don't want to go to Austin." I don't blame them there at all. So I said, "Yeah, I'll look at the application and think about it, and we'll see what happens." So I prayed about it, talked to my wife about it, and applied. Interviewed, and lo and behold, I got hired as the assistant director of the jail commission. So, been here 3 years now, and I love the job. It's a whole different side of things, yet it's similar. Counties and the state has similarities and big differences as well. Budgets are different. It's over 2 years instead of 1 year. Whole list of things there. But dealing with people is what we do, and that's the same. And how you treat people, that's all the same. After I came and kind of got oriented, got a little more comfortable, things started to change for me. I was pretty uncomfortable at first, honestly, because I didn't know anything about fiscal notes, legislative budget boards, performance measures. What is that? We didn't do those in my county. We didn't even do evaluations in my county. So a lot of that was new, and I was uncomfortable. But getting out of that comfort zone makes you grow. If you live in the comfort zone, you're not growing. So I had a wonderful mentor, which I'm going to get onto here in a minute, to help me through some of this. But my topics be the difference, right? Find your voice. When I was in McLennan, I did a lot with mental health. I was fortunate enough to be appointed by the governor to an IDD board for the commission during the legislative session, and we did studies on IDD. Then we all reported back to what we found out, how jails are doing with IDD. And that has since morphed into a full-time committee that I'm no longer on, but I help with because I'm there now. So saying that is I was very involved in mental health in my community, still am, and I'm able to continue that, but at the state level. I'm fortunate Director Wood allows me to participate in the committees with Takumi, with TDCJ, with DHS, and we have voices, and we're your voice a lot of times for those committees. We are able to go and talk to state representatives, House reps, about new laws. We don't have an opinion on them. We're there as just an expert, neutral, giving facts only. But we try to help mold some of that language sometime to help jails operate with these new laws. So how can you be a voice for your agency? Where does that start? Where did it start with me? It started small. This association right here. I ran for the board in like 2015 or so. I got picked up, and then I did 9 years of service for this association, from a board member all the way up to president, now past president. But I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable standing in front of you talking. I'm an introvert. Some people say I'm not, but actually I am. Taking 2 different tests that tells me that. I have to get out of my comfort zone to do this. But I do enjoy it, but when I'm done, I'll be dead tired. But it's a calling. corrections is a calling. How many of you in here, when you were in elementary school, when you were running around playing cowboys and Indians and firefighters and police, said, I want to be a jailer? Anybody? Not a single hand. How did you get into it? I fell into it. I needed a job. Once I got there, I loved it. Spent my whole career doing it, still doing it, 34 years later. It's a calling. Once you get a taste of it, it's hard to get out of it. It's not for everybody. The patrol side takes some people away. But once you get into it, remember, what you do affects not only you, your agency, your family, it affects everybody in this room. People are watching you. They're watching what you do, what you say, how you act, on and off duty. Marshall Pomerleau talked about ripples in the water when you dive in, right? What we do ripples across many, many areas. You have to have integrity, ethical, because you now represent a much larger picture than just you with your actions and what you do. Be a leader. Never stop learning. Ask questions, listen and grow daily. Knowledge strengthens us. Knowledge is power. With power comes great responsibility. Some people can't handle that power. Some people get in trouble. You Google jailer arrested, man, there's way too many video clips of that. Police officer arrested, way too many videos of that. For poor choices that we make. That's a bad voice. We don't want to be that voice. We want to be the good voice. We want good things about our profession and what we do. We've grown way too far from a turnkey, from a floor walker. We're a profession. From way too far to go back. Don't tarnish that badge, your agency, the profession, by your actions. Do you have a mentor? Anybody in here have a mentor? Everybody should raise their hand. Everybody has one, whether you know it or not. You're affected by other people's actions. Director Wood talked about formal and informal leaders. Same thing, formal and informal mentors. My first mentor right there in that picture, my dad. He taught me right from wrong. Now he's teaching my son as well. My next mentor, Johnny Miner. He was my jail administrator, taught me lots of things. He's the one who taught me how to read books, not how to read, but to read books. He gave me a book called 1 Minute Motivator. He said, hey, I want you to read this. And I did. Taught me how to be a leader, how to talk to my employees. He also sent me to a leadership class. Another picture of Johnny there. And Johnny's here. He's in the back. He's been retired since 2008. Is that right? Since 2008. Still involved with the association. Still proud of his career and our careers, all of us. The gentleman on the left is John Kalanick. He took Johnny Miner's place when he retired as a jail administrator. And he was also one of my mentors. Learned a lot from him as well. I learned how to think outside the box with him. He was a big into mental health. I didn't understand mental health at the time. I was all about use of force, right? I started our SORT team in the jail and was all involved in that. It was all about use of force. And he was the one telling me, you can't tase mental health people. I said, BS. No, they're coming at us, we're tasing them. It's on. They're going to get like everybody else. But as I transitioned into his job and started going to these meetings, and this was before de-escalation, or right around the time of de-escalation was getting started. When I started learning about mental health, now I understand. I see what he's talking about. We should be talking, not using force if at all possible. Unless you're going to get hurt or injured or somebody else is going to get hurt or injured, back off, use your words. Mentors, we all have them. I didn't ask them to be my mentor. I just watched them, listened to them. Johnny kind of stepped up and volunteered with giving me books and sending me to classes and to conferences. John, I just watched. He was a great leader. He's now the police chief of Baylor University. Wonderful guy. Two more of my mentors right here. Past presidents of this association. Kim Howell on the right. She's now the executive director of the Chief Deputy Association. She was assistant chief in Lubbock. We became friends because of this place right here. I visited her jail 3 different times, looking at her mental health programs, their direct supervision, and how they did things in Lubbock County. Lubbock's pretty good ways from Waco, about 6 hours. But opened her arms and said, come on, I'll teach you whatever I know. One of the left's Bob Patterson. Bob Patterson is no longer with us. He became a friend of mine in 1993 at that first conference I came to. I mentioned Coy Jones, who was the jail administrator at that time. We went to Bob's hotel room and we were discussing some things about work. And I can't repeat what was said. Wouldn't be appropriate today. But I learned a lot from that man. We became friends ever since. And that picture there was one of the last ones I've got of Bob. He came to the conference when I was sworn in as president. That meant a lot to me. Great mentor, great friend. I could call him at any time and he would answer any questions. He's done a lot for this profession we call corrections, a lot. Through the American Jail Association, through the Texas Jail Association, through the National Jail Leadership Command Academy, which he helped start. Wonderful person. Saying all that, mentors are important. This is my most recent mentor. New job, new mentor. He has taken me under his wing, and introduced me to everybody he can meet. If he knows them, he introduces me to them. He'll grab me and say, come on. During session, we will go to the Capitol, and House reps, workers inside the Capitol, just everybody he knows, he introduces. And that means so much to have that face-to-face name recognition with somebody when they're emailing you, when they're talking on the phone, and you're having to relay information, you know who they are. And he's shown me the ways of the state, and I've learned a lot from him. Like I said, everybody has mentors, whether you want them or not. I didn't ask him to be my mentor. He just did it. As he said, they can be formal or informal. Mentors can be good or bad. I think Director Wood mentioned that in his presentation. You can have bad mentors as well. He actually touched on how to take care of that, is sway them to your side. Get them to be positive instead of negative. It's all things I was going to talk about. Look at your circle. Think for a minute at work. 3 people you hang around with at work the majority of the time. What kind of people are they? Who's in your circle? Are they the positive people in your organization? Or are they the negative people in your organization? Which one is it? Which one should you be in? Now think about at home or in your off time. Are those circles different? They're different people, yes. But are you in that positive one or are you in the negative one? Are you doing positive things in your community? Or are you out running the streets, running the bars, whatever? Who's in your circle? Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. You heard that? It's true. People influence you. People in your life influence you. You may not want them to, but it happens. What do we tell people that are in jail, that are on drugs, and that are doing reintegration programs? What do we tell them? You got to change your lifestyle. You got to change your friends. Got to change where you live, where you hang out. Same thing applies to us. If we're not running with the right circle, it affects our home life, it affects our job life, it affects our family. Negativity spreads fast in a jail, doesn't it? Super fast. Positivity can spread just as fast. So be that positive person. Be the positive. Build your circle to lift you up and challenge you. Your circle should keep you accountable. If they're not, ask them to. If they're still not, find you a different circle. Talk to them about it. Tell them, I want you to keep me accountable. I promise you these guys right here, stand up, guys. You in the green shirts, all y'all. These guys keep me accountable, and I try to keep them accountable. They will let me know when I screw up. I promise you. Y'all can sit down. You got to find those 3 people that are going to hold you accountable and let them know what you're doing. Whether it's a work project, hey, hold me accountable, I'm trying to get this deadline met. Or hold me accountable, I'm trying to lose weight. Don't let me eat them sweets. Whatever it is, find that circle that's going to hold you accountable. Talk to each other. Find those people. This is my TJA circle. Special picture, special circle. This was for one of our members that was going through a hard time and was unable to make the conference, and this was the board at that time showing her some love. But everyone in that picture will hold me accountable if I do something, I promise you, and vice versa. You gain friendships in this organization. The more you come, the more people you meet, the more friends you get that will hold you accountable, and they will help you when you need it. All you got to do is pick up the phone and call them. I encourage you to get involved with this organization if you can. This is my family circle, my family. We got a Brady bunch. The 2 on the right are my kids. The 2 on the left are my wife's kids, but they're our kids. And that's all of our grandkids. It's our job to hold them accountable, right? We got to mentor them so they will be good, decent human beings. I told my wife when the youngest one right there in the middle on the right, on the left with the baby, when they got married 2 years ago and had a baby, I said, we finally succeeded. They're all married. They all got good jobs. As parents, we have succeeded in life. Why do we do that? Do we hold our family accountable and not our employees? Do we have an employee we haven't held accountable? Can you think of one? Sure. Why haven't we? People like structure. If you don't have that structure in your agency and you're not holding somebody accountable, the other side's seeing that. They're seeing what they can get away with too. So you need to be holding people accountable. My non-work circle, I'm almost out of circles. I got many circles. But this is my friends, close friends that hold me accountable. That one's one of my neighbors. This is one of my best friends for 30 years. And he's still in law enforcement. He's a district attorney investigator, and she's the same thing, a district attorney investigator. They started out working for me in the jail, and now they've gone on doing different things. But we're still good friends, great friends. We talk to each other almost every day. You got to have that balance of non-work people. Don't be friends with just people you work with. You got to have that balance in your life. And then my biggest support, obviously, is my wife. She really holds me accountable all the time. Director Wood talked about a leader, so I'm going to kind of skip over that some. But be a leader. Be that person. Don't be scared to voice your opinion. You have to voice your opinion. That's our job. If somebody's doing something not right, you got to tell them to stop. Even when it's difficult, even when it's unpopular, you got to be that person. You got to step out and say, stop that. That's not the behavior we like. Or step in between them and the inmate. You've got to stop that behavior. There was a trooper, I think, spoke here recently that said a jailer saved his career, right? Y'all remember that? Jailer stepped in between him and an inmate that had spit on him, I think, and he said, I was fixing to lose my career. And the jailer saved that guy's career, and he went on to do good things in DPS. He was a ranger and leadership positions in DPS and everything else. Be that person. They might get mad at you at first, but they're going to come thank you later. Use your voice. Be that person. Be the leader. Build your team. It's got to be trustworthy. Don't build just your leaders, just your supervisors. Every person, like Director Wood said, in this room's a leader. You're a leader of people. You tell people what to do every day. your family, the inmates, everybody. Law enforcement, that's what we do. So you got to build those lower leaders up too. The more leaders you can have in your agency that are good leaders, your job's a lot easier. A lot easier. When you have good leaders, it makes it easier. Everybody has that potential to grow. Can you think of that one person in your agency that you need to reach out to and give them some help? I challenge you to do that when you go home. Grab that person and say, I want to help you. I want to mentor you. I want to direct you in the right way. And help them. Be legitimate about it. Help them. Help them be the leader you need them to be. It's a lot easier to keep people. It's a lot cheaper to keep people than it is to get rid of them, replace them, and train somebody else. Give back to what you've learned. This is a great way to give back. I learned a lot through this association, and I'm proud to be up here speaking to everybody and giving back what I've learned through this association. Give back to your communities. Volunteer in your communities. I was fortunate enough to be just appointed to the board of directors for the 100 Club in Waco. Still doing things. I want to be helpful. I want to give to my community. Pay it forward. Give your knowledge to somebody else. Everybody has different knowledge, different ideas. Tell your story. Your story might be different than somebody else's, but I guarantee you somebody's story is similar to yours, and they're going to understand what you're talking about and be able to relate with you. I said a while ago, growth requires discomfort, right? If you're comfortable in your job and your life, you're not growing. You're static. You're just maintaining. Yin and yang. You've got to stand on that line of uncomfortable versus comfortable. You got to step out of it and do something you're not comfortable with to learn and grow. Then you step back in and catch your breath. Relax. Step back out. Do something else. Get uncomfortable in your life because it makes you grow, makes you be a better person. So in closing, we're going to get you out of here on time. Be the difference. You have the power to be the difference in your organization, in your life, in your community, in your family. It's up to you. It's about your choice. About the choices we make, the decisions we make, and who's helping us make those decisions. Never stop learning. You're doing that now. You're here. You're learning. Never stop learning. Find a mentor, whether you ask them to be a mentor or you just watch what they do. Please pick the good one. We all know that bad mentor, right? That we're like, I learned something from them. I learned what not to do. I'm not going to act like that. I'm going to do what this other one's doing. Pick the good mentor. Choose your circle wisely. Lead and build your team. Give your team, like Director Wood said, the tools they need, the direction they need to be successful. As part of our jobs as managers, supervisors of agencies and shifts or whatever your position is to give your employees the tools of success. Ask them what they need and try to get it. You can't always make them happy. You're not going to get everything. But do the best you can to get those supplies for them, whatever it may be. Again, develop everyone in your agency, not just your rank and file, right? Not just the rank. Develop everybody from the ground up. CEOs of businesses will tell you, you need to know your janitor's name. That's part of your organization, right? You don't want somebody coming into your nasty office. We have trustees for that, but think about it. The lowest person in your agency, do you know their name? Some of you do, some of you don't. You need to know those people. You need to know what their wife's or spouse's name is, their kid's name. What do they do on their off time? You need to learn a little bit about them and be sincere. They can tell when you're not sincere. Be sincere with that. Give back. Again, give back to your organization. Give back what you've received. Pay it forward. If you've learned something at this conference, go back and teach somebody at home what you learned. That's easy. Doesn't cost you anything. So, hey, let me tell you what I learned. Let me tell you what we learned here. Conferences are great. They're exciting, man. When you're going home, you're all excited. You talk all the way home, right? What did you learn? What did you know? Everything, we're going to do this when we get home. We're going to do this when we get home. We're going to change this. We're going to change that. And when you get home, what happens? You go back to work. You go back to shift. You get back in that normal day-to-day grind. You go to work. You go home. You go to work. You go home. And you forget about it. Don't forget about it. Make that change. Make it happen. Be the voice. Let them hear your voice. Now, I'm not talking about being boisterous and unruly and things like that, but be the voice of change. Find your voice and make a difference. You be the difference. You be the change. Time's up. Set my alarm so we get out here on time. With that, that's actually the last slide. So there's my information in the QR code if you want it. Take a picture of it. My phone number's there if you don't have your camera. Call me for any questions you have with jails. I didn't really touch on jails and jail topics this time. I was more about being that difference and making that voice heard. Be the change. But anything you have jail-related, call me. If you need anything, call your inspectors. We're here to help you. What you want to hear from the government, right? We're here to help. We are. We're here to help. So anyway, we have classes all week. Come see us. We got hot topics. We got a complaint class. And Melvin's already taught? Or you? Yeah, it was yesterday. Okay, it was yesterday. So we got a small jail, large jail class as well that Michael Gravitt's helping with. So come see us. Come talk to us. We'll be in the halls. We're here. So enjoy your lunch, and we'll see you later.